I'm going to be doing just a quick talk on sustainable fashion. I've been studying this topic for the last several months. And the woman you're seeing there is someone who actually is an upcycler. So she takes older fabrics and older, sweatshirts and things, and she upcycles them into very high-end designs. She's originally from Brazil and lives in Miami. I did an interview with her. And if you want to view any of my interviews, I've had 5 interviews with different sustainable designers from around the world, from Kenya to here in the US. And the through line for them is, getting people to be willing to spend more, because unfortunately, sustainable style is more expensive than fast fashion. So you can go to the next slide. This is just to give you an idea of the textile industry being the second largest polluting industry, and 17 to 20% of the global water polluter. There's a documentary out there and it's called Plastic Ocean. And it talks about the plastics that are in our ocean, and some of it is from our washing machines washing all of these plastic clothing, and the water goes, the plastics, they're microplastics that go into the water, and that's what we are drinking. And the movie itself was shocking to see how much plastic different wildlife is eating and actually dying from. But down below, it talks about how much water is required for cotton. 21 billion tons of garbage a year is basically all of the plastic clothing that cannot be, isn't recycled. Nobody wants it. Nothing you can do with it. Then we have 10% of global carbon emissions from our textile industry alone. So you can go to the next slide. We're talking about recycling too. So there are many things you can do to have sustainable fashion. Obviously, there are many resale sites. There are many consignment shops around the Twin Cities. And there are also companies that recycle textiles. So you'll see that different brands like H&M that are very large, they're trying to get more sustainable, and they're creating capsule collections that are taking old plastic bottles and things and making clothing out of it, or recycling textiles. There's a documentary on a recycling textile company in India that takes different colored fabrics, they mound them up together, like this is red fabrics, this is white fabrics, and they spool together all of this fabric after ripping it and breaking it apart, and make it into new textile materials to make new clothing. But essentially, it has a very big effect on reducing greenhouse gases. So 2 million tons of textiles are recycled each year in the US, equivalent to removing 1 million cars from the highway. Next slide. In North America alone, we send our clothing to landfill. And also, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of our clothing that we think we're donating to, like Goodwill, they don't even use it. So they end up tossing it as well. So even though we're very well-meaning and we bring things to the prop shop in Eden Prairie, or we bring things to Goodwill, it's not all utilized. And so then that can be outsourced and actually sent to other countries. One of the designers I spoke to in Kenya, she said that they receive tons and tons and tons of cartons of our own clothing from the US and also from the UK, and that it's not all used, so it's in their landfills. So not only is there our landfills here in the US, but our waste of clothing is filling and glutting landfills around the world. Go on to the next slide. So some terms to know: fast fashion is fashion that is obviously, it's made quickly, but it's made to also be launched weekly. So it used to be that clothing had capsules. So it was a spring collection, it was a resort collection, a summer collection, you had the winter collection or fall collection. Now it's weekly collections. So every single week, brands like Shein that are out of China, they are making either daily drops or they're doing weekly drops. So the type of manufacturing that's occurring in the fashion realm is now called fast fashion. So it's cheap, it's quick, it produces a lot of pollution. It's made of fabrics that are not sustainable. They are not going to biodegrade at all. It's meant to be worn once, twice, and thrown away. Whereas it used to be, we would buy fashion as an investment. We would spend money at, I remember back in the day, go to Brooks Brothers and get a blazer, and you'd feel like that would last you. And it was the look. Now it's about Instagram and posting different looks and always having something new on. It's almost like shameful to wear something more than once and be photographed in it by a lot of the influencers out there. So fast fashion is quickly causing a problem now. And it also is a lower price. So as people are having financial problems with this COVID, now they want a cheaper option. Sustainable fashion is manufactured not only environmentally friendly, but socially responsible. I don't know if you know, but in LA, they had garment workers that were getting paid for sewing one seam. So they'd only get paid by the seam, by the zipper, they did not get paid hourly. So they were actually making less than minimum wage. And I couldn't believe that that was happening in our day and age, but yes, it was. Although they did have many social groups that rose up, and they finally passed a law that said they would not get paid per seam, that they would be paid minimum wage, which was shocking to me that that's actually occurring today. But they have, I think, a large immigrant population there that didn't have a lot of job skills, so they felt like they could sew, and they accepted that low wage. Circular fashion is related to the entire lifespan of fashion. So for example, if you have something vintage, which is usually like 50 years old or more, then those things can be sold, and there's value to those things. So you can resell them and make money. So it's about recycling, reusing, and finding other ways to use a product or a garment. And there are many different companies that are, as I showed you, that one designer who takes fabrics and then reuses them. So there's many different designers around the country, thank goodness, that are really focused in on circular fashion. Ethical fashion is an ethical approach to sourcing, designing, producing clothing. So creating a safe working condition, giving fair pay, and also concerning themselves with animal welfare. All the designers that I spoke to were very concerned about ethical fashion. They pay their garment workers fair wages. That's a concern for them. They want to support them. And also the fabrics that they're sourcing are also vintage. They're very concerned about making sure they're either overstock fabrics from companies, or they know where they're getting and sourcing those fabrics. Or one of them actually was really interesting. She grows her own cotton and then makes the dresses from the fabric that she grew. And I was like, whoa, took it to another level. Yeah. So then we have greenwashing, which is when a brand gives a false impression of the sustainability of their fabrics, or of their products, which I think is just such a prevalent thing. Everyone wants to say they're green, but I'd say probably like this many people are green. Okay, moving on to the next one. Creating your sustainable closet. Hey, oh, where'd it go? Hello. Okay, there we go. So reduce the number of fashion items that we're all buying. That's one thing we can do. I love vintage shopping, so that's another way to create circular fashion. Look for sustainable brands. There's a gentleman's brand called Trees, and they plant 10 trees for every product that you buy. There's a lot of really interesting brands if you actually look. It's fun to find. And reuse, obviously, see how you can reuse what you have. I did see with one influencer, she said she wasn't going to buy anything for a full year. She wore the same 10 items all year and posted how she wore the items, which I thought was really cool. Repurposing, how do you transform your clothes or customize jeans? Repurposing is kind of what that designer did on the very cover, Claudia. She repurposes things as well. Repairing, mending. Oh, there's a shop in California, and it's called Sue's Sewing Shop. And all she does is fix things. So you come in and she will sew, she will fix, she will shorten, she will repair, whatever you need, because she doesn't want you throwing things out. She wants you to repair them. And I thought it was so cool. And she shows, you should follow her on Instagram, but it's SUAY Sews. She's really cool. Next one. These are the different kinds of fabrics that are sustainable. So there's recycled polyester made from plastic bottles, hemp, which saves water, uses less land, grows quickly, organic cotton, doesn't use harsh chemicals. You can go to the next one. Here are some documentaries so you can watch and learn. I think it's really great to see firsthand. Sometimes it's hard for us to really picture what's going on around the world. How are our decisions affecting other countries? Because it does. The top left, Unravel, that was the one I was telling you about, that they take our discarded fabrics, they buy all these clothes, they rip them, and then they make them into thread and create new garments. Minimalism's another one. The clothes we wear, the next black, river blue is another one about the consequences of all the fashion that we have. And then, apparently I put in there Unravel twice. But those are 5 documentaries that I highly recommend you watching. And of course, I really love that Plastic Ocean was eye-opening and really sad. And it definitely makes you want to reduce the amount of plastic that you're using. Next slide. Minnesota doesn't have a lot of sustainable fashion options or stores. What's wrong with us? What happened? We have Scout in Edina. This guy's pretty cool. He has all of his brands there have some kind of sustainable story to them. I bought my brother a sweater there, and it was from 10 Trees. And as I said, when you buy a product or a fashion item from 10 Trees, they plant 10 trees, and everything's made of sustainable fabrics and ethically sourced. Then they also sell things like candles where they're all made in recycled containers, and they also go towards kind of representing different parks. So they'll have like a Yellowstone fragrance that represents Yellowstone Park, and every candle you buy goes towards cleaning the parks. So I thought that was neat. So everything has a story in that store. Spoils of wear. Now this woman is really into it. I'm talking everything in this store is not only supporting women-owned businesses, diverse business owners. See that little jacket I'm wearing? That is from the designer Tonle, T-O-N-L-E. You can follow them on Instagram, but this woman she has very diverse models being represented. All the fabrics there, like that ripped, it looks like these long strings. Well, everything is made from recycled fabric. So she has vests out of this fabric. She has jackets out of it. Everything in this store, all the accessories, everything is all sustainably sourced and made. She does have some Minnesota designers there who have necklaces and things that are all made from recycled metal. So some cool designers from Minnesota making accessories. Go on to the next one. And that's in St. Paul. I guess that's it. So that was it in a nutshell. There's a lot to know. I couldn't believe how much information is out there. But I think just more I wanted to bring up to everybody about recycling, buy vintage, everything that we have, someone's going to love it. So I sell a lot of my stuff on eBay. I have it on Poshmark. I have it on Queenly app. And it's kind of cool because then you get to not only sell your things, but also, buy some new used things. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Wendy. So much good information. We'll open it to questions. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Wendy?
I wanted to mention that I put it in the chat that Patagonia has been doing sustainable garments for years, and they are improving all the time in terms of that. And one of the good models for the commercial world that is very slow to convert to sustainable. So this is great, Wendy. Thank you.
Yeah, very true. They're one of the few companies. But you're right. It is very challenging to find real corporations that are actually on board because they're all about the profit. And it is not always profitable to do things that are good for Mother Earth.
Well,